Nick and Shay Brand, graduate at TAMU Educational Administration Program. So the time is 11:47. Thank you all so much for meeting to create this PD plan based off our campus improvement. I know there are a lot of moving parts in this, and I really appreciate the roles that you all have taken on in order to undertake this massive thing. But let's get started. So as we reviewed our campus improvement plan, we know that there were many areas for improvement, but we also had some celebrations. But let's just talk about the areas of improvement. One was in regards to meaningful student discourse and how that is a part of Tier 1 instruction.
Yes.
I know that we've already discussed some introductory ways of how we want to roll out professional development to the staff. Ms. Jackson, if you don't mind, can you kind of speak to some of the ideas that we've already kind of rolled around with the Tier 1 instruction overview PD?
In regard to the professional development regarding MSD, we have talked about just rolling it back a little bit in regards to some classrooms we walk into, they are not even having discussions. So looking again at some of the strategies that we can incorporate, whether they're Kagan or just like a simple think, pair, share, or a talk, read, talk, write, where we can get students to at least pair up and start talking to someone before we get into the bigger picture of maybe having discourse. Something that we tried last year was we tried tiering teachers, those who were already doing discourse in their class, those who had not had any discussion, and those who were having, middle ground, like some discussion, and using that to target what kind of PD we were providing them.
Okay. So I like the fact that you talked about tiered teaching, and I know with the kickoff, would we consider tiering the kickoff, or would everyone get it just the same way, or will we tier even the kickoff? Because there are teachers that have been here, they're veterans, so they've had a lot of practice with Tier 1 instruction. And then we have some novice teachers who are brand new, and then some who are not so novice, but they're not veterans either. So what would y'all think about trying to tier that, or just go ahead and give everyone the same intro?
I would like to speak on that again and not give the opportunity, but I think that we still need to tier because, like you said, we have some people who are new to teaching, some people who are new to campus, as well as some people who have been here for the years, but are still maybe not doing it or still don't quite get what the discussion or the discourse looks like.
Okay.
So I would say we do need to tier. What are your thoughts?
I agree. And I think if we tier it, that'll be a great opportunity to address something that we got from the survey last year, was that we didn't have a lot of teachers that felt like we gave them opportunities to lead.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could use the tiering to find leaders for these professional developments that we're kind of So if our kickoff looks multifold, if we have, different groups in different rooms, one group can be led by that top tier.
Oh, Ms. Johnson, I'm loving the fact that you're saying that, because it kind of lends itself to distributed leadership, where it is not all on admin or even instructional coaches. Thank you, Ms. Cook, and our counselors to lead. Thank you, Ms. Fortes, to lead those type of things. Now we can also reach out to our teachers who want that, also a leadership role, and give them an opportunity too.
For sure. And I think they learn better from each other. And I think what we saw last year through our classroom walks is our Tier 1 teachers really do have it down. So we don't want to waste their time. Instead, we could have them show real life scenarios that involve our kids of how this can look in the classroom.
Gotcha. So when we think about the cycle of our professional development, I know late arrivals are our normal professional development days, but we're not going to negate the fact that we have plannings during the week as well. So some things can be plugged in there, but our big time together would be the 90 minutes that we usually have on late arrival Thursdays. So what like the layout, how will we organize when we're going to do our kickoff, and what subsequently will that look like after?
I think what we do at the beginning, we have to make sure we circle back to later. And so for the kickoff, talking about teachers leading these PDs that maybe have more experience and more refinement to offer to the more novice or new teachers, I think that is a really helpful piece for the launch. But I think just when we get to those late arrival Thursdays, which ones are we circling back to based on what we see as a big need for our campus, or what are we maybe struggling with that we can come back and reinforce so that teachers do feel supported and feel like they're getting the proper training to be sure to implement this with their kids in Tier 1.
So now,
Monitor and adjust.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So in talking about what that whole layout is gonna look like, can somebody pull up the district calendar so we can go ahead and just look at how many tentative days? Remember, we will also have a principal address, the first Thursdays of every, month. So we wanna make sure that that time is allocated for the principal's address, but then we can also look at where we're going to plug the intro, the kickoff. And we want that to be very energetic. So we also would need time to plan with those teachers
Right.
what that would look like.
Yes.
I don't want to leave them out there, by themselves and having to try to figure it out. So it sounds as if we probably need to come up with the purpose, the objective for them,
Okay.
so that they will know here is what it should look like. Maybe even given an exemplar for what we are expecting. We can also, when we meet with them, allow them to brainstorm. Like, what are your tier one strategies that you feel more comfortable with? I can present this hands down, and the presentation wouldn't be taxing for me because it's
Yeah.
something that I do, so I can get the presentation together fairly quickly, and then get it back to us so we can kind of give them some feedback before it's actually rolled out to the whole staff.
Absolutely.
Anybody got the calendar?
Yes.
Okay, how many total late arrival Thursdays do we have?
Is that not including the principal address?
Yeah, total, not including the principal's address. Yeah, so that might take a little time to count it up. Trying to keep track on that time. It's 11:53, just so everyone will know. I know Ms. Johnson, AP, I'm sorry, Johnson, you'll need to get to lunch duty.
Lunch duty,
But I
yes.
do appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, and I still got a good amount of time with you.
Thank you. So while they're counting the days for late arrival, and I know tier one is a huge thing, Avid is also something that we're big on.
Yes.
We were a national demonstration campus, but we still have Avid classes, and we're still implementing campus wide. So we also need to look at how we are also going to merge Avid into those Thursdays, and it could be, I would love for it to be a part of the kickoff. So when the teachers are talking about that, they can also kind of give a plug about Avid and how they incorporate it into their tier one strategies.
I know one of the big things for this year is the planners. So we are still waiting on the planners.
Okay.
There was a little hiccup with that, but that will be the first, I think, meeting or kind of PD on how they can utilize those planners with the students.
Yeah, because that's huge for organization, and our babies definitely need it. Yeah.
And we should be starting the year off until we get our power up and our advisory really solidified. We should be starting the year off with Avid as well. So that might be a nice transition for them to talk through strategies. And that can lend itself to them talking about what we're going to be doing during advisory.
Mm.
So that might just be something we're going to touch.
Gotcha. I agree. So segue back to the number of late arrival Thursdays, 11, and that is without the principal's address.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, not bad at all.
Seemed like that.
No.
Goodness, we got a lot to talk about. Only 11 opportunities.
Yep. So we know the very first one is the kickoff.
Okay.
And because you said circle back, the second one will be almost, I guess, like a check-in, a check-up on what we introduced and what has been happening so far. And I know within your planning meetings, you'll also be touching bases with your teachers about how are the tier one strategies going, and which ones have you implemented and which ones do you feel like you still need a little bit more support with. But we can gather some data that way from your individual plannings. And because the time frame is going to be so quick.
Yeah.
Because that'll be a week before we have another late arrival Thursday. We just need to figure out, so what would the next one look like? After our kickoff, what would our next one look like if we're talking about it's going to be a check-in? Any thoughts or ideas about what that one could look like?
I think one, like, what observations are we doing, or what check-ins are we doing with the teacher prior to that, so that we can understand where the struggle is. And I don't think it hurts to do like a staff feedback piece, right? Like asking them, what are you struggling with?
Yeah.
Because maybe what they see to be a struggle is different from what we see to be a struggle. And so to make sure that we're in alignment on the goal that we're trying to meet, I think is important for the second piece.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm just gonna throw something out there real quick, and and it really just hit me when I was thinking of the quick turnaround.
Okay.
Do we think we would have given them enough time to practice these strategies within just a week to be able to say, now let's revisit, or would you like to extend, give another opportunity, and then even allow for that late arrival Thursday to be maybe a deeper dive into planning to where they can kind of talk a little bit more in depth about their tier one training with their teams.
Yeah.
And maybe within themselves, they can tweak it, before now we talk about, coming back to revisit to see how they're doing. What are y'all thinking?
Yeah, I definitely think, I mean, at minimum, 2 weeks.
So-
Because we have to be able to talk about this in planning and make sure that we're intentional in planning about what that looks like.
Okay,
So our ICs can help with that. So that once it's in the lesson plan, then we can try to see that next week, can we execute? Because we're only asking them to do one strategy.
well, we haven't talked about it, but
Okay.
that's something we can put on the table.
Yeah. Because if we can plan, I mean, on a small scale, I feel like 2 weeks would suffice. That's just me thinking out loud. I don't know what you guys think.
What are your thoughts about one strategy versus two? Yeah, I think two would be an overload.
Not really, because sometimes that's what you naturally do anyway, so I don't think that would be unreasonable.
I would agree because I think there are some points in a lesson or even particular lessons that lends themselves more to one particular strategy over the other. So it's not like we're asking them to use both strategies at all times throughout the week. It's
Okay.
really about how can you use this to better support your lesson, to ultimately better support your students' needs.
Okay, so that means during our little kickoff, we make sure that they understand that out of all that they've seen, then they choose the two that they would like, because it's going to be a plethora for them to choose from, but they choose the two that they would like to implement. And then they can do that for 2 weeks, and it'll be discussed in planning. And then that third late arrival Thursday, then we can come back and revisit. And like you said, Ms. Fortes, give some type of survey beforehand so we can see where some of the struggles are, so that we can try to go ahead and have some PDs available for them to be able to fix whatever concerns that they have. Okay, yeah, I like that. Guys, the second one then, we could designate that as a deeper dive into tier one planning with your team, tier one instruction planning with your team.
Okay.
So I know the lessons they are already going through the process of internalizing their lessons. So
Yes.
now they just need to make sure that they are able to they can practice those tier one strategies in front of their peers.
Yeah.
And to give some immediate feedback about, hey, I felt like this worked really well for you. And that's something that y'all can push during planning to ensure that they're getting feedback from not just you, but also from their peers. Because I think it'll be very valuable to hear from their peers about how they can tweak and how they can change something. And because it's not just one person up there doing it, everybody's going to have a little rotation. I think it would be really nice, because 90 minutes is a good opportunity for everybody to kind of display or show what they know.
Absolutely. I agree.
Okay, and so then I would have the third one as the revisit, and I guess that's a good time too, on that Thursday, to kind of get a little feedback, or we can do the survey within that next week
Okay.
or what they are having some concerns about, so we can give that feedback survey. Do I have anyone who would volunteer to create that survey? Okay, thank you. So action item
Yes.
would be for Ms. Cortez.
And we're getting feedback from the teachers only, or are we asking, well, just the teachers, I'm assuming? And I'm only asking that because, other types of feedback obviously can be student work. There can be the walkthroughs that we do as a team. So I'm just thinking through what other pieces of feedback. We're just gonna give a survey to the teachers and see how they've been experiencing these strategies? Or are we going to take into account the feedback that we're getting from our walks? Or any data that we can show that proves that the strategies are taking place?
I like all of it,
Mhm.
just to be honest. I think if we try to lean and depend just on one source of data, I think our the information may be one-sided. So
Yeah.
I think getting multiple modalities of data, I think will really help. So
Okay.
of course, our walkthroughs will be very important. And then of course, hearing directly from the teachers
Okay,
will be very important as well. I'm gonna go ahead and throw another one out there too.
what are you thinking?
What are y'all thinking about having student feedback?
I'm not opposed to it. I do think that it can reveal a lot of different pieces in it. So yes, the teacher feedback is going to reveal what they struggle with,
Uh-huh,
but all of those pieces are interconnected.
Mhm.
And so I think the student feedback can really reveal a lot about their perspective and how that connects to the teachers, because the teachers may be deep in a lesson talking about a specific strategy and realize like, oh man, like there's a lot of behavior issues.
yeah,
Well, the student feedback can help us to understand that there's really some social emotional issues going on that are creating roadblocks.
yeah,
And so how can we now dig those pieces apart to better support the kids and better support the teachers at the same time?
And this is why you, Ms. Forte, as a counselor, had to be a part of this, because my mind probably would have never gone to that, not the SEL. I would have thought about classroom management, but not the SEL part of it. So I really appreciate that input. So since you're the one that's going to create also the feedback for the others, then if you don't mind, can you add a portion or add one for the students? And I think the best time will probably give it that during the advisory time before they go to lunch. So that way it's not taken away from instruction. And then we can kind of talk about later what components we all want in that. And if you want to kind of take the lead and kind of go ahead and get something together, you can. And then we can all kind of look at that and reflect, and then we can add if need be, or make some amendments if need be. I really do like that.
nice.
Okay, so far we've got the kickoff down packed, and we've got the deeper dive into planning with their teams for tier 1 instruction, and then we've got the revisit, but that's going to kind of sort of be built off of the data that we collect from our walks and from the teachers, and also now from the students. So then we'd be looking at the 4th, and now I'm going to ask you all, do you all want to keep it with a rotation of allow them some more digging time, and then we come back and do another PLC? Or do y'all want to keep it flowing now with just doing PD after PD after PD? Or do we want to kind of break the monotony and do a little PD with them and then allow them time to add into their planning? Or, because don't forget about our special pops. We want to make sure we keep a focus on special education and our EB babies. And I think if maybe each time we have a focus, so the first deep dive into tier 1 planning was just about making sure you're doing your modeling with your team so they can see how the tier 1 is working for you. But maybe the next time it could be now focus on your EB babies. Now, what does tier 1 look like for your EB babies or your EB and SPED?
Yeah.
What are y'all thinking? Because I'm trying to make sure that we include all of our babies.
I like the way that you're thinking, because it kind of, not compartmentalized, but divides it all up, because there are a lot of tier 1 strategies.
Yes.
So when you say have the teachers pick their strategy, I kind of thought everybody could be all over the place. But if you say these are the strategies that we're focusing on, that everybody can kind of hone in and know this is what we're looking for. So yeah, like the next time EB, and it could be like sentence strings, and making sure you have the illustrations or the drawings, or making sure you have the word banks.
Yeah.
I think if we kind of chunked it a little bit and had different categories for each, that makes more sense to me. I'm not sure how everybody else wants it.
Well, let me hear from everybody else.
Yeah, I was just taking it all in. I was thinking about, making sure that we have those opportunities to show, like, for them to try out the differentiation and try out strategies for even the enrichment, because sometimes we forget about
That's
that
true.
too.
That's true.
So yeah, I like that, having like, okay, here's a set, and then now let's look at how we can, convert them a little bit, and let's try some other strategies to bring in, how can we support our SPED students? How can we support our EB students? How can we enrich?
Yeah. And y'all know this is, I'm loving our conversations. It is though tentative, because sometimes the district will give us things that we have to do as well. So we just have to be flexible. But I think I like the flow of what we have, because it allows for a lot of flexibility. Because if we did need to do another day of or another late arrival Thursday where they didn't necessarily have a PD. It was a PD from us, maybe it was a PD from the district. Well, then it would be fine. But one thing I'm going to also make sure that I do is have a meeting with the district and let them know here's what we're looking for on our campus. And when you come, if you can ensure that you're doing the same thing so that we're all on the same page, because it all feeds into, of course, the district goal and our campus goal. But I just want to make sure you're resounding what we're saying and not giving them anything opposite or different from what we're doing, that it all kind of flows into the same way, that we're all on the same road.
Great. I want to thank you for inviting me into this meeting. It's been 20 minutes. I thank you guys. I'm gonna head to lunch duty, but I look forward to hearing back from or if there's any action items that you guys need from me.
Oh, yes,
feel free to
yes.
loop me in, okay?
Yes, I sure will appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think one thing we need to, since we have like a flow and a structure for how our PD schedule is going to work, what do you all think about another aspect of the plan would be around celebrating? Because we've got to pause and have these celebrations for those who are they're just trying their best and they're doing what's best for kids, and they're trying really hard to implement the different things that we are asking them to do. So in saying that, we could also build that into our calendar, like when and where will we celebrate them? Would it be before we start the planning days, so to speak, like when they had the late arrival Thursday, where they doing a deep dive? Could we get together real quick just to be able to celebrate those? Or would it be something that we wanted to do over the intercom? How would we want to celebrate them? Because I think that is a huge piece to continue with the momentum of, this is what we're doing as a campus, and to get those who are not so excited about doing it, maybe get them even excited about participating.
I think there are a couple ways that we could give feedback to contribute to like the positive culture here on school campus, specifically in the instructional piece. So definitely if we're doing observations, giving positive feedback where we see that. And then anytime we have a training, like looking at our PLC schedule, the PD that we have scheduled, there's an opportunity for us to give shout outs in almost everything that we do, minus the first one, because we're introducing things. But if we're doing these two strategies as a focus, when we see that with our teachers, we can give them, praise for pieces that they're trying.
Right.
Or, hey, like we saw your feedback. These are really great things that we saw from it. For the students, this is great stuff that we saw from them. And so I think as much as we can embed just the feedback and the praises to them about things that they're doing to grow, really will encourage them to continue on that pursuit.
Yeah.
I like how you talked about the feedback, because a lot of times, it doesn't seem like the feedback's been looked at. And so I think it'll be helpful. That'll also help with the campus culture if they know that we're actually looking at that feedback and taking it in and like making adjustments to, support and just to show that their voices are heard.
I was going to say, I think recognizing teachers is extremely important. Everybody wants to be recognized for what they're doing, especially if they're doing something right. One way we could do it is at the like the principal kickoff, like at the month, maybe he can recognize people from the previous month who we saw doing good things with that particular strategy or those tier 1 strategies. We have the monitors and the TVs in the hall. Maybe we could, post some pictures of them, implementing those strategies in their classroom. So for teachers and students to see that they are doing these things and I had another idea and it just drifted away.
Oh, yeah. So, and I love the fact that, because I forgot about the monitors hanging, but I think that's a good way for students actually to be recognized and see themselves and just be encouraged to know, oh yeah, we see you. You're part of this process as well. I think as many of the stakeholders that we can get involved, and then start putting these things also on our website, so parents can start seeing.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Twitter. Posted on our Instagram saying, here's some of our superstars that are rocking with differentiation this week, or here, EV STEMs, whatever it is.
Yeah, I do like that.
I think too, another thing we can kind of lean on, we have PBS campus.
That is true.
And so something that we can do to encourage teachers and celebrate them. We can do that through PBIS. We can also celebrate our kids through PBIS and instructional pieces too, and just looking at our multi-tiered system of support, looking at, where's admin playing a role in celebrations, where are instructional coaches, where are counselors, like all of us have to really play a role in supporting students and teachers in moving forward in instruction. Like it can't just be one part of the team. It has to be a team cohesively.
Gotcha. I do like that. So incorporating PBIS in this as well would be a huge plus for the kiddos. And I know there's a teacher's version, but I'm not for sure if we've got that part up and running. But I know Mr. Dry in his absence, he does a really good job of appreciating teachers. So making sure that that culture remains the same. And if we can build this in as a part of that, it's not just about, just being on duty or doing all of that. Tier 1 is what impacts our student achievement. So if we can make sure that this ties into it as well, I think that would be just another plus for our campus. Okay, so rotation is good. And I loved adding the shout outs during the principal's address. Because then you're able to be recognized in front of everyone, and it's not did I miss that announcement? Or, and even coming around, because I did think about coming around and celebrating them that way as well. Although that is nice, it still doesn't put them in front of everyone. So the spotlight, I think, is going to be our go-to for getting those others to kind of get on board on what we have going on. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of circle back to the kickoff, and I know that we talked about meeting with those teachers. So let's talk about the process for selecting who those teachers would be. I would like an array from each content area so that it's not all math, it's not all RIA or science or social studies, but at least having an array. What do y'all think about all the participants?
Yeah, I think that everybody can contribute from what they've seen from walkthroughs and observations that we made. Teachers that we know that are strong in specific tier 1 strategies.
Okay. Do y'all want to say one from each content? I don't want to limit, but y'all want to say one from each content and thinking about the size of our campus. So if we did 4 different rotations, then we could divvy up the groups to divide our staff into 4 groups and they can rotate. And then just to be honest, if we want to keep rotations like that, to break them up in smaller chunks so that it's not one big group of everybody sitting in one spot to hear everything or to try to do, because our spaces are really not conducive when we try to do it all whole group. Aside from having the principal's address. So what do y'all think about breaking them into smaller groups so that they can rotate and move that way?
I love that idea. I'd like to suggest maybe having 2 teachers per content so that they can partner.
Yeah.
Because I think for teachers that may be very knowledgeable and like rock stars in a classroom, presenting feels a little scary sometimes.
Yeah.
And so for them to partner up makes them feel a little bit more at ease and not feel like they're by themselves.
Okay. So 2 per content. Got it. And then break. Ms. Jackson, if you don't mind, could you take the task of taking our staff and dividing them up, and then when you get the list divided up into the 4 separate groups, then we can kind of look to see if we have the right people together, so to speak, so we can make sure that the groups are productive and that everybody's going to be able to benefit from it.
Sure, it's going to be important to have it in smaller groups anyway. So they can try out the strategies.
Mm.
A lot of times if it's too big, then it's like you have some that are just sitting and they're not really engaged.
Correct.
So I think that would be
Okay. Trying to think, so breaking them into smaller groups, I think that would be great. And then today is the 5th, so our first late arrival actually is coming up pretty quickly. It will be on the 11th. So do we already have some teachers in mind that we could go ahead and send an email to today? Or at least at the latest Monday morning? I know we've been talking about it with them, but I know that they have not gotten the full range or understanding of what we're actually doing, whether they know that tier one is the focus and that we're going to work on it incrementally. So do y'all already have some people in mind that we could go ahead and send out an email? And you don't have to give any names, but that we could go ahead and get an email out to either today at the latest Monday and kind of detailing what we would like, and then have a brief meeting with them during their conference instead of after school, because I don't want to take any time after school, but just briefly during their conference, just to kind of go over the email and just explain. And then I don't have a problem with getting like a little exemplar slideshow together to show them. It's not going to be long, and since the rotation, we only have 90 minutes, the rotation shouldn't be longer than what, 20 minutes? Yeah. Okay. Or do y'all think it needs to be shorter?
20 is good. That way, if teachers also have questions that they'd like to ask the presenting teachers, they have some room for some FAQs, just to give feedback.
Okay, because that gives them the opportunity to go to all four. So that they can choose which strategies they would like to do. And we sometimes have overachievers. So if we have a pair or a team that wants to do multiple strategies, we probably are going to need to tell them it's just going to be, if you want to do two, but I wouldn't do more than two within your rotation, only because you want to make sure you model it in a way that now they get it versus a quick crash course. So yeah, and I know some of the things that they may introduce are not brand spanking new, which is why I'm saying two is okay. But people can get an opportunity to see it and kind of put their spin on, this is what it can look like for me. So I get what you're showing me, but this is what it can look like for me. So 20 minutes would be good.
I think so.
20-minute rotations. Ms. Cook, if you don't mind, she's gonna make out take our staff and break them up into the 4 groups. Do you mind creating a rotation schedule? Because we'll start right at 8. Because everybody should be signed in by 7:55, so we'll start right at 8, and then just set us up for 20-minute intervals. Because we have 90 minutes, so that gives time in between for about 2 minutes to rotate, because it shouldn't take that long to go from one class to the other. Okay, so I think y'all, this is really, really good. I'm very excited about what we're going to do for tier 1. I know special ed has been one of our target groups, as well as our white students. But at the end of the day, all of our kids are our target, and we want to make sure that everyone is growing. But we know in order to do that, our teachers have to grow too. And I think we have the right people here. And I think they have a desire and they want to, from our novice teachers to even our veterans. And I think making sure that we all work together is going to be something that is definitely going to impact our campus, because we're all going toward the same goal. And we know the things that are put in place will help us all get there. Got the rotations. I guess what we need to do is look at what it would look like with some brief interruptions. Because if we have to scale back with the district implementing something, which of the rotations would we say which late arrival could we take and say, let's remove this one? Which one would be the more, I guess it's okay if we don't do this, because we have the rotation of a PD, and then they do a deep dive planning into the tier, and then another PD. So would it be okay if we took a PD or took a tier deep dive?
Took away
Mm-hmm.
the deep dive. I definitely would not want to take away the deep dive.
Yes,
For the
I don't think that, yeah, I
Right.
like that too. And I think it'd be good replacing a PD with a PD. Because if the district is already doing a PD, then trying to change our PD, yeah, I just think replacing a PD with a PD is gonna be the best thing. But as you said before, anytime we give one, we gotta do a follow-up. So we gotta make sure that whatever the district brings in, and that we follow up with the teachers about, how is that going? So that we can give the district also feedback. When you come to the campus and give presentations, here's what our teachers are saying, and just want to know, so that we all are in the growth phase, that you are able to take feedback and grow from it. So I think I think we need to make sure that we keep our consistency of giving feedback, because that's the only way anybody is able to grow, if they are able to hear what's great, what's not so great, and then they can decide how to fix it. I don't see anything else that I think that we need to go. Because my mind could have missed something. Anything else that y'all can think of that I did not talk about in this plan? Ms. Johnson, before she left, I know she talked about the monitoring and adjusting. So do we want to continue to use the feedback forms that we already have? Or do we want to look at creating something else, since now yes, our focus is still meaningful student discourse, but it's additional tier 1 strategies that we're also tying in. So do we want to look at creating?
I think we can at least adjust.
Adjusting.
How we get our feedback to adjust.
Okay.
Moving forward, I think we can add more specific pieces.
Yeah.
We have to be careful to not make feedback too specific to where it's overwhelming and they don't want to fill it out because it's too many questions.
Right,
But I think the more intentional that we can be in our feedback, the more helpful it is to us to be reflective and help with the change.
Okay, and what about our walkthroughs? That point, do you want to make some adjustments to that to also include additional tier 1, or do we just want to keep it? Because MSD is what we used the year before, and it was just a clear focus on meaningful student discourse. So do we want to now merge it and add in tier 1 instruction, but including MSD could be one of them?
We could just have a drop down with the specific strategies. So
Okay.
when going to the class, to just select what we're looking for.
Yeah,
That's particularly.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, and we can all agree that being in a classroom for 5 minutes, 10 even, is not enough to really see what you really want to see. So would you all like to, even with the walks, set a time frame of how long we need to be in there so that we can collect enough data that gives us feedback?